Okay, we're recording.
Okay.
So stop whispering. Okay, first of all, let me just say I'm so excited, St. George's, that we have with us the Barkalows back into the St. George's community again, which I am thrilled, and I know other people are thrilled because there's this buzz about the Barkalows being back. And now they have babies with them too, which is so fun. But anyway, I just thought we would take a minute to get to know the Barkalows a little bit more, because we know that Jesse preaches. We know that Christine has done the children's ministry, but a lot of you don't know their whole story and don't know, their loves and likes and dislikes and things like that. So I want to just ask them a few questions and let you guys in on the conversation. So thanks for joining me, Barkalows.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
So first of all, I was just talking with you. You both grew up in Colorado Springs. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. I was born in California and moved around a fair amount as a young kid, but ended up here when I was 11 and been here since.
I think I was 6 weeks old when we moved to Colorado Springs. So
nice. So all your life, pretty much, yeah. And then, but did you guys know each other before, like in high school, elementary school, or when did you meet?
Yeah, funnily enough, we kind of ran in the same crowds for a long time, had a lot of mutual friends, but we didn't actually meet until after Jesse came back to the Springs from college. He was at CU Boulder for his undergrad. And I happened to meet the wife of one of his best friends, and she arranged for us to meet. And her little setup worked out very nicely.
Okay, and what was your first date? Do you remember? Jesse. I should ask Jesse, because the guys always get in trouble if they don't remember, right?
It's more like what you count as the first date. But
we had a lot of like hanging out before it became official.
Yeah. Was the principal's office was not the first date, or it was the first
I think it was.
Okay, the principal's office at Ivywild was the first date.
Oh, okay. That's important to clarify. Not the principal's office, like you both were bad students.
Yes, and Jesse was teaching at the time, so that is
the
distinction.
The restaurant, coffee shop.
Yeah. Oh, nice. But you were saying that you guys really enjoyed rock climbing?
Yeah, that was kind of actually how our friend set us up, is like through rock climbing, and then we ended up climbing a lot together.
Mm-hmm.
And then one night after climbing, we finally decided to go grab a drink at the principal's office and close the place down. And I was very, very sold on the whole thing by that point. And yeah, not too long after, we started dating.
Nice. Okay, so how long have you been married?
Almost 6 years.
6 years in October.
Yeah.
Nice. And you got married at St. George's, right?
We didn't actually.
Okay.
It was just
but you were dating when you started coming, is that right?
We were engaged, I think, when we tried St. George's for the first time. But by that point, we had already kind of like set in motion the plans for our wedding and such.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, we had a really small wedding in the mountains. But yeah, we have often wondered how different our wedding would have looked if we had just like started at St. George's a year earlier.
Yeah. Okay, so one thing I noticed about you guys almost right away is that you both love books. And I remember one conversation in Yates Hall, we were talking about, I think, the Brothers K. Mm-hmm. And I started into the conversation and quickly realized, like, oh, this could turn into, like, I should take out my notebook and take some notes, because you guys were like, whoa, I just wanted to sit and talk with you about literature forever. So do you both like the same type of literature, or do you have different genres that you're drawn to?
We have a lot of overlapping
tastes.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, for the most part, we both really love classical literature, or just kind of the classics. Dostoevsky is definitely a shared favorite.
You have more of an interest in sci-fi maybe than I do.
Yeah, I have a little bit toward like sci-fi fantasy as well, beyond just like Tolkien and the space trilogy. I have dabbled into a little bit more of that than Jesse has.
Yeah.
But we definitely both like come back to the classics as our first loves.
Okay, so Jesse, this might be too hard, but I'm going to try.
Okay.
What are your top 3? Like, if you had to choose 3 books that you've read in your lifetime that have impacted you, other than the Bible or the Book of Common Prayer, since we're Anglican.
Yeah. Literature versus.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, literature. We'll narrow it that way.
So yeah, Brothers Karamazov.
Okay.
Definitely be in that list. Probably Tolkien's Lord of the Rings trilogy would be in that list. And
that's kind of cheating because that's 3, but okay, we'll give that to you. One more.
You wanted it to be one more. What else? Maybe Charles Dickens was a big influence on me when I was younger. I'm trying to think of what. Maybe Pickwick Papers was a book that actually had a big influence on me when I was younger.
Huh. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So were you guys raised Anglican?
No. Yeah, we were both raised in the evangelical church.
Okay. And this might be a loaded question too, but what drew your hearts towards Anglicanism?
A lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to New Life downtown when we met, and were like in the beginning stages of dating. And for anyone not familiar, New Life downtown is like a branch off of New Life, so it's very evangelical, but they incorporate certain elements of the Anglican liturgy into their service. And both of us absolutely loved the Anglican elements and definitely wanted more. And we're not as fond of the non-Anglican elements. And so we just decided one day to try a real Anglican church, and put into Google for Anglican church in Colorado Springs, and St. George's was the first on the list. So
wow.
We came and fell in love right away. We just basically everything that we were that it just felt like the evangelical church doesn't quite get it in certain ways, and it felt like all of the things that we had been longing for, it just felt like we could take a deep breath, finally in the Anglican service. Like our spirits were just filled by the liturgy, by just the enormous amount of scripture in the Anglican service, and then the fact that everything culminates with coming to the table and taking the Eucharist was just so huge for us. And it was like all of a sudden, all of our questions about like, okay, what's the purpose of church and the body of Christ all like kind of fell into place with experiencing the Anglican order of things and remembering that the purpose of coming together is to remember what Christ has done and to receive his body and blood, which allows us to go into the world and do his work. Just feels like basically all the other traditions seem to have like lost that focus and therefore aren't as effective as they should be. So
I totally resonate with what you're saying there. And I grew up Baptist, and so coming to the Anglican Church has been a beautiful journey for me as well. And so anyway, it's funny because when friends start asking me about my church, I'm like, okay, let me tell you this. I love my church so much that I'm gonna restrain myself a little bit, and I'm just gonna say it this way: if you want to know more, I will tell you, but I don't want to be pushy. But if you say go, then I will convince you to be Anglican. And so I try to respect that. If they don't ask questions, I just, I just will talk about my church, but I don't say you should come. I mean, because I feel like everybody should. St. George's is awesome, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
now even more so with the Barkalows. So, Jesse, tell us just some, maybe some highlights. This might be too big of a question too, and you can answer it however you want. Sure. Make it into a different question even if you want. But I just am curious about how seminary was, and if maybe you could tell us some highlights, maybe some things that, like paradigm shifts, if you had any in your classes, or maybe even, sorry, I'm getting even more, I'm trying to make it vague enough that you can make it what you want, but I'm also trying to go in a certain direction. Okay. But thinking about, I mean, it seems like you've come back with kind of a vision of what you as the Barkalows would like to contribute and add and shape in our community. And so that's pretty vague. What do you think? You can say pass if that's too vague.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the big paradigm shifts in seminary was choosing to work in the church, because originally going to seminary, the plan was to stay in academics and teach. But I mean, apart from, I think, the call that God had on our lives through the church, it was also just the realization at that place that you can't divorce education and church, and you can't divorce the academy and the church. And a lot of people try to, but it just doesn't work. And part of that was seeing the best professors I had were both working in the church and in the academy. And the worst professors I had were not usually very well grounded in the church, and so they just sort of didn't understand what they were doing. So that was a huge, experience to actually like see it and then start to live it, and then as a student to start to work in the church and see how they fed each other. And then slowly discern God's call, at least for the time being, into the church more directly and to get to teach in the church. But also just because I was a teacher for 4 years before this, and I enjoyed that. But the realization of how much God can do through teaching in the church, where you kind of get rid of some of the secular structures and the need for meeting goals, and you get to just like allow the Spirit to work, was really exciting. And so like I love the idea of getting to read and teach and think in this setting where it's actually centered around the Spirit of God instead of achievement or right and stuff. So yeah.
How did you feel, Christine, when he was like, actually, I think I want to work in the church? Did that just make sense to you, or?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised at all, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I mean, the benefit of kind of being on the outside, at least a bit, for, what was going on between Jesse and the Lord, in the Lord transforming his heart in that area, was that I got to kind of see the steps of that, and observe them from the outside. And so I saw the signs of it, I think, pretty early on in seminary, and just in the conversations that we were having and stuff. So yeah, when he was like, I think that a PhD isn't the right next move, I was like, I am not surprised by that.
That's nice. That's awesome that you're both, I mean, it didn't take convincing either way. Like the Lord led you to both
Yeah.
see that direction. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, well, right before we close, I want to hear about your kids. You've got Verona,
Mm-hmm.
and you helped me by saying in fair Verona, like Romeo and Juliet, which makes sense for literature people. And Amos.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your kids.
Yeah, so Verona will be 3 next month. She was born at the beginning of my seminary career, and she is a very spirited little girl, extremely sweet and strong-willed, and yeah.
Jesse and I are both people who have a lot of opinions, and I think Verona got both of
oh wow
from both of us. But she's very sweet, and the like almost 3 age is just so fun. I'm sure anyone who has had a 3-year-old knows it's challenging, of course, but the just amount of discovery and delight in life is really, really fun.
Yeah.
So
she loves her prayer book.
Oh,
the Bible.
Yeah.
I had a friend tell me that when Abigail turned 3, he had older kids, and when Abigail turned 3, he said 3-year-olds laugh more than any other age. And I was like, oh yeah. So I think you'll probably find that in Verona. Okay, and Amos, does he have a little personality yet, or is it still forming?
I mean, I'm sure we'll keep discovering new things, but he definitely has his own personality. He turned 1 at the end of June, and he is much more laid back than his sister. But also is like, starting to move a lot and wants to keep up with her. So he's really fun, and yeah, just it's amazing how different they are.
Yeah.
They just are their own little people.
That's true. Well, we're coming to the end here, and we've gone a little bit over our 10-minute time, but do you guys have anything else you'd like to say to St. George's community before we go?
I mean, we're just so happy to be back, and feel like God definitely has us here, and so glad to be.
We spent 3 years in New Jersey, but St. George's never stopped being home for us. The whole time any church we went to in New Jersey, we were comparing it to St. George's, and nothing came close to measuring it.
Yeah.
So we're just so excited to be back, and really excited for COVID stuff to hopefully settle down sometime in the near future so we can start seeing people more regularly again. And
I know. What a weird time to move back here, huh?
It's a little strange.
Yeah. Well, St. George's is really glad to have you guys back. It just feels right. Actually, every time you guys would come visit your family and come in the door, it was like, this just feels right. At least for me, I was just like, I'm so glad that you guys are here because it just feels right. Anyway, all right. Well, we'll say goodbye, and we're going to try to start doing these little interviews, get to know you interviews for our newsletter. So you can be looking forward to more of these. If you want to participate, let me know. All right. Stop recording. Don't hang up though. Stop.